warn you about that. All right, guys, so it is 12:02 and we're gonna go ahead and get this started. If you are on Zoom, if you could just do a quick in the chat to let us know that you are hearing us, because we want to make sure that happens. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, so if we could welcome everybody. We have some empty seats up front. I am not an up front center. Yes, I like to sit in the back. But if you would like to move up front so you can hear us better, feel free to come in. Up front? No? Okay, cool. Yes, Jody is. I'm just joking. If you need her to talk louder, then you say, excuse me, can you speak up? And I would like for you to make sure that you really do that, because she will get to that point where she's just talking and, you know, and you're going to miss great stuff. Jody's got some amazing stuff to share with us. We've got Jody, we've got Sierra, Tiffany Bielli, who's over there, and we've got Jackie. So what I want to do real quick is tell you how this class was birthed, okay? So, I decided to put an offer in our house, and I was going to buy it, and it's going to be a rental. And I am fortunate enough to be one of the pod leaders that we have here in the office. And in that, the pod leaders meet on Fridays to sharpen us, to make us better for those that are in our pod. And Jackie, in her infinite wisdom, if you don't know me and Jackie's relationship, it is probably one of the most beautiful relationships that I have, because we are very good. You should have somebody like this in your life. We are very good at being able to disagree with one another and still love each other after we really go at each other as to our opinions. And I find that to be something that is a beautiful thing. So Jackie says to me, okay, great. So do you know how much money you need to have in, you know, whatever for.
How much do you need to make every month to make it advantageous for you on your investment property?
That's what she said. Yeah, that's what she said. And my response to her was, I don't know. I just jumped into this. So we have on our panel some folks who are jumpers and doers and say, I'm going to just dive right in. And, you know, if someone needs to throw me a life jacket, then they will. And then we have some that are very meticulous in making sure they know exactly what they're going to do before they jump. And I think that's important to have, because there's some of us that jump and there's some of us that have to make sure they know what they're doing before they jump. So on our panel today, we have Jackie Pearson. We have the absolutely fabulous Tiffany Bailey, because I hadn't seen her in a while. So, we have got sweet Jody Claypool, who, if you need for her to speak louder, please make sure you do.
Oh, stop. Don't embarrass her.
Did you hear that?
I made it worse.
And then we've got Sierra McLean over here, who has got some great stuff to add to it as well. We also, when Jackie and I talked about this, so actually the way it happened is I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she says, I said, you know, then let's set a time that we can meet and you can tell me what I need to do. And I think somebody on the pod call said, well, maybe we should do this as a class. And so that is how this came into fruition, because we love to share our knowledge. And so then Jackie and I started talking a little bit more, and she says, well, let's have a home warranty company. And then we said, well, let's have someone who comes and does home inspections. And so we have 210 that has, that's going to be coming onto Zoom with us in just a little bit. And we have the folks from.
Oh, there she is. Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hi, just let me know whenever you're ready.
I hear you.
Can't hear you.
Oh.
Usually it's kind of reverbing.
Yeah, I hear it.
Can you hear me now?
Hold on, we're turning you up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so 210's going to come on in just a second, and then we also have folks from American Properties, Eco Advantage, and then we have Johnny Johnson from. Now you're muted, so if you unmute yourself, we might be able to hear you.
Okay. Are you ready for me now?
Give just a second.
Okay.
Then we have them. They're all going to talk, and this is a participation kind of event. This is a mastermind. There's no syllabus, curriculum, lesson plan. This is what questions you have, ask them. If you have information to share, we want it. So we just want to iron sharpens iron. So make sure that you participate. I do have expectations of everybody in this room having their voice heard at least one point in time before you leave. Is that fair?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And that didn't count. All right, so if you want to go ahead and come on from 210 and talk to us real quick.
And 210 provided us with this amazing lunch, and I told her 20 people, upped it to 50 yesterday. She said no problem and jumped. So thank you so very, very much for supplying this for us, especially when you couldn't be here.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I just want to apologize for not being there. You know, you guys are so special to us. So Robbie actually used to cover the Fayetteville area, and I have actually stepped in for Raleigh, and then it just made more sense for us to cut you guys and actually put y'all with the Raleigh rep. So it was just a little bit of confusion. So I'm not taking, I know a lot of you guys have met Lisa. I'm not taking her spot. She's still with us, but she had something else, a prior engagement to do. So I just wanted to fill in for her. So I apologize for not being there because like I said, you guys are super important. So I know you guys are talking about investment properties today. So I thought it was very fitting to talk a little bit about our complementary sellers listing coverage. So what that means is when the property goes into the listing, you guys can add a complimentary. To be honest, it's free. Our marketing team just does not like us to say it, but it is a complimentary listing coverage to protect the seller during the due diligence process. And what we hope that you guys will do is when you go ahead and put that complimentary coverage on there, that if the seller does not want to offer it, which is totally fine, just talk to the buyer's agent like, hey, we are covering the property up until closing. Does your buyer want to purchase it going forward? So that's why we have that coverage for you guys, is that we just hope that you will just mention it to the buyers to see if they're interested in purchasing it. I know the market right now is just crazy and sellers aren't having to do anything, and that's fine. But our buyers are interested in it. They just need to be educated more on the product and the benefits of the warranty. So what that is you can actually just, I'm sure Lisa has this brochure in the office for you guys. If you look on the last page, it says sellers coverage. That is that complimentary listing coverage. They can add in the HVAC and the heat pump for $50. So it just kind of gives the seller that if anything was to crazy happen during that due diligence process, that it's covered, and it gives the buyer peace of mind as well too. All you need to do is just either send us an email with the property information so that we can go ahead and get it enrolled as soon as it hits the market. Now, if the buyer does not want to purchase it, I would, and like, even if like this is a different situation and like you guys are a buyer's agent and you're representing a buyer and they don't want to purchase it, get the waiver signed. It's super important to like at least just get, hey, like I went over this with you. Like I do recommend it. If you don't want it, sign this waiver. It's something about like signing your name, like, hey, I'm like opting out of it, that maybe might make them think a little twice, like, hey, this might be important to get. So I would just like to cover you guys, mitigate the risk. I would just get that waiver signed. If you have any questions more about the listing coverage and you want to kind of go into the depth of it, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Lisa, and we can kind of have like a one-on-one on it. And if you just want to know the difference between the Supreme and the standard coverage, please reach out to us as well too. So thank you so much. And I think Lisa was actually there yesterday. So it was kind of funny you got us back to back.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for that. One of the things that I think that we would like to find out some information from you on is, so we're talking about investments, And so in purchasing a rental property, talk to us a little bit about how you work with that. If it's, I mean, I guess it's the same thing as it's your own property, but
Yeah.
let's say that you already own it and you're making the decision after hearing information today that it may be something beneficial to invest in one. Tell us, what do you need to do? Because we're not in a contract or anything.
Sure.
So how do you go about that?
Yeah, so I actually have an investment property myself as well. I actually have a townhome, and I was a 210 customer before I even became an employee. So, and the cool thing about it is I have renters in there. So the one thing about the warranty that I do want to set the expectations is it is not an emergency situation. So it's not, if you have water coming out of, the pipe, it's not like somebody's going to be there tomorrow, or that same day. So I do like to set the expectations that the program is not, any warranty is not designed for emergency situations. But it will save you a ton of money. So, for instance, for me, I actually had a pipe leaking and I had to get a plumber out there same day. We patched all the pipes. And then what I did is I just took my receipt, which was $1,300 that I had to pay the plumber. I filed the claim. I had to file a claim with my homeowner's insurance, and then I filed a claim with the warranty. Okay. So now I'm going out. So this means that I went out of network. Okay. With 210, we allow you to go out of network. So I didn't have time to wait, for 210 to send a contractor. So, cause pipe was leaking. So what I did was the $1,300 that the plumber gave me, I uploaded that onto my customer portal and just, I went out of network. I filed the claim, went out of network, and then I got reimbursed. What we would reimburse you is what we would pay our contractor. So our contractors get a lot of volume from us. So they do take a little bit of a discount when working with all of our customers. So I uploaded my receipts. It was $1,300. I got reimbursed $950. So, it saved me, it saved me some money. And then the rest of it, I filed on my homeowner's insurance. So I definitely think for investment properties, it's a good idea to have the warranty. Obviously, if you have a renter in there and your AC goes out, that's covered. We have no maximum coverage with our AC. So, right now with Freon being very high, we do not have a max coverage on that. So it's basically unlimited Freon that's going on. We do SEER matching as well too. So if we have to replace a unit, so if we have to replace the outside unit, then we're also going to replace the inside unit as well. And then the only max coverage that we have is on our appliances. It goes up to $3,500. So if any of the like refrigerator, washer, dryer, garbage disposal, dishwasher, any of that goes out, it's a max of $3,500, which I think is a pretty good coverage on that. And then our hot water heater, the max on that is $1,700. So do you think the coverages on that is definitely good, and you wouldn't be coming out of pocket for those items? But I do like to, because I know it is investment, so a lot of them are going to have rental properties. It's not an emergency situation, but I do think it's good that we can go out of network and then get reimbursed, for some items that you have. So I always like to tell stories, and that literally just happened to me. So I've been using that story for a couple of weeks. I'm still going through the process on it, but yeah. So any other questions?
You guys looking at if you're possibly doing investment, do you have questions as far as coverage and things of that nature?
I have one question. My one question is it collectively for the appliances or is individually for the appliances?
Individually.
Okay.
All right, so I do have a question as well. So let's say someone purchases an investment property, they don't immediately get a home warranty, and then they decide, okay, I'm going to get one. And 3 weeks later, the water heater cracks out. How does that work for that? Does it being in the business? Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would tell your customers that they're working with you, they can add a warranty anytime. So like if the deal closes, and nobody got a warranty, no problem. But when they're ready to add that warranty, tell them to contact you and then have you send it to me, or either send it to Lisa or me directly. Don't call the 1-800 number. And the reason why is because they get a discount going through an agent. Okay. So like if you have a friend that's like, hey, I want a warranty, you can send that to us and we can get them enrolled under you. And they get a discount. And this is the big thing, there's no waiting period. So like literally I've filed a couple of claims this week that they just moved in last week, and there's no waiting period. That's two things that we do for you guys is no waiting period, and they do get a discount for like kind of going underneath you. And they don't have to just bought a house. So like if you guys are interested in personal warranties, like send it to Lisa, send it to me. We can get you guys enrolled under your discount and no waiting period.
So when you do it that way and it's not paid for at a closing, is it still something that the initial first year is the full amount up front?
It is, yes. And that is one thing. So yeah, it is. So if you guys send it to us, we'll send you the invoice. Y'all can just use your credit card. Anybody can use their credit card, send a check, pay for it. But then at renewal, that's when you can do like the monthly payments if they choose to. But it is for the first year, have to be paid upfront.
And it is substantially more economical if you are a realtor and you have it in your investment.
Yes.
Just make sure to go through the proper channels of the,
Mhm.
I just did one for me for one of my investment properties, and it was substantially cheaper. They also do show up and they don't fight you near as much as some of the other people that I previously had as home warranties on some of my investment properties, to where I'm starting to switch all my investment properties over to 210.
Yes.
And Jackie, is it tax deductible?
It is tax deductible.
What?
Yes.
Oh.
Awesome.
Does anybody else have any questions when it comes to the home warranty piece?
And yeah, I mean, like I said, I have an investment property, and like that was the first thing that I did. So I actually bought my townhouse brand new through Portrait Homes. If you guys remember them back in the day, we had the Builder 210 warranty on it. And as soon as it expired, I was still living there with no warranty because I didn't know anything. And then when I decided to put, to make it a rental property, I started literally Googling warranty companies, because I'm like, I'm about to buy another home. This is going to be my investment property. You know, I'm making my mortgage. I'm making a couple $100. Like, I don't have, I don't want to be out if like my AC, because everything's the original. My house was built in 06, my townhouse. So that was like literally the first thing I did. And I literally just contacted 210, like customer service, and I didn't even go through an agent. So, I got it all set up, and I just felt so good because putting my renters in there, I knew that, I was going to be, because I didn't go through like a management company or anything like that. Like, I'm just doing it solo because I'm just trying to make as much money as possible on it. And that was the first thing I did. So, and I just felt so good, peace of mind. And we filed a few claims since they've been there and getting it knocked out. And it just kind of makes me look good as a professional as well too, that, I'm on it. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate that you were here and that you are a partner with us, and that, when we have questions, that we can always reach out to you and answer. So thanks so much.
Yes, no problem. Thanks again. And just so you know, I'm going to speak for Lisa as well, because we talked about this. Send your customer, like if your customers have questions, give them our number. We love talking to customers about warranty. Like, we're the experts on it. You guys don't have to. We're just an extension of your business. So just like you pass your client info to your lender, pass them on over to us, and we will answer any questions that they have. Like, I've had some in-depth conversations with customers, and I work on I answer my phone on the weekends because I know that's y'all's busiest time. So, feel free to send them over so we can make sure that they're protected and everything. Okay. So thank you so much. I hope y'all enjoyed your lunch, and look forward to meeting you guys in person.
All right. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So we're going to pull you guys here. Actually, before we do that, any questions on home warranties?
I had asked if I got their home warranties on 3 of my properties, if I got a discount. The answer's no, everyone.
Okay.
If what?
No discount for multiple home warranties. I had
Okay.
asked that before.
Oh, yeah, no.
Just FYI.
Has anyone ever used a home warranty on a personal home for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Was it advantageous?
Can I
Okay.
add something?
Hold on. So I was hesitant to have Jody speak this because she said this to me the other day, but as an investment class and full disclosure, in talking about this with Jody, go.
So something to keep in mind about home warranties is we do property management agreements if you're gonna have somebody else manage the property. I looked at one as I'm turning mine over to an LLC for all of my properties. They charge an extra fee to work with the home warranty company now. I did not know that when I first had signed with a property management company back in 2012, nothing about it. Standard fees, but the new property management agreement says if you're gonna have a home warranty, we're gonna charge an extra 50 or $100 just to deal with the home warranty to get the repair done. So make sure you're checking all of the documents if you want to have that home warranty in place.
On that individual issue that you warranty, or is that like a yearly fee?
Just to work with the home warranty company, because that's another person that property management company now has to deal with instead of going directly to their preferred vendors to get the water.
It is more time intensive, because I used to help manage a property management company, and Karen Bean Brown also does it here, which we meant to get her happy butt up here too.
So you can come on.
Come on, Karen. So, that is something when you are,
That's what we do.
if you're gonna run it yourself, there's a lot that we would need to go over as well, or if you're going to hire a property management company, make sure you're doing your research as to what their true fees are and not what they're telling you, just to make it so that you choose them over someone else, because that's a fantastic point, and it is a lot more time intensive.
And property management agreements change over time. So we're grandfathered into an older one, but to do my due diligence and put everything through the name of the LLC, looking at the new property management agreement, it's much different to include how much they will charge to remarket the property if it goes vacant. So now I'm working with my attorney to find another solution so I stay on my original property management agreement.
And then you pray that the new property managers actually know the old agreement.
Right.
I have a question there. You mentioned $100. Is that per incident or an annual fee for the?
I would have to relook at the property management agreement, but I think it's per time that they have to call the home warranty company.
Jackie, I have a question. You said that it was tax deductible. Is the entire amount that you put towards the home warranty tax deductible, or is it just a percentage?
No, so it's the entire home warranty is tax deductible, and then every fee that I have to pay. So if Renee's company comes out and has to do something to my property, I can go ahead and write that off.
So your deductible, all that, you write that off as cost of doing business?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost everything you can do, and Jody is your huge number financial amazing guru soul up here. But
She's
yeah,
very much the detail person.
almost everything you do to your investment property, whether you're marketing it, where you're putting new carpet in it, painting it, you have to put caulk around your bathtub. Your caulk gun and your caulk is both a tax deduction. You have to hire somebody to come cut the grass, that's a tax deduction. Now just remember, you're writing all these things off. So just like in our real estate business, we can take all these beautiful deductions, but now when you're going to go buy your next investment
You're not showing
property,
the income.
you gotta be careful of your income.
Right.
So that's why I always say, when you're doing your taxes, whether it's your investment property or your personal business, it's just be best to just play it straight laced, tell the truth and roll with it. What you spent, what you made, and call it a day.
Right. Yeah, we'd like to definitely get your contact information for the numbers side of the game.
So one of the things that I have learned from Jody is that, and as realtors, we know that there's oftentimes when we send documents to DocuSign or .loop, and we have customers and clients that sign those things like that. we know that there's no way that they've read the documents. And there's a lot of words in those documents. And guess what? I would say that 75% of us in this room are much the same way. So that's why if you get nothing else out of this, read your documents. When you are doing something personal for yourself, make sure you read it so that you know what you're stepping into. Because I would have never known that. And then, you know, at the end, I'd be like, oh, okay. Well,
And pick the brains of those that you might look up to who do similar things. Like if you are looking to buy an investment property, or if I'm looking to do a flip, I'm probably gonna call Tiffany or Sierra and say, hey, I've never done this before. Can you walk me through what the heck to do? And I'm gonna walk through because I haven't done it, but Tiff has forever. So it pick the brains of us. That's the beautiful thing about being about Keller Williams. We're not keeping all of this knowledge to ourselves because we can make all the money. There's plenty of houses, there's plenty of business. Let's help each other out and save each other money by learning from our mistakes. I'm sure Tiff's probably spent money on mistakes once or twice. Same as us. So if I can learn and not do it that way, same way.
so we're going to segue into our other vendors that are here for us today so that if they need to head out after this, because, you know, they're out doing inspections and taking care of us on the real estate side. So this is American Properties. And we have got Rena coming up and she's got great stuff. So we're going to come check that out whenever you guys, before you head out. So if you guys want to just come over and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, come on.
You have to move over here?
Sure.
All right.
Johnny, come on.
My name is Brenda Mclaurin. I'm owner of American Property. My husband and I started this business. Well, we kind of started much like Jackie was saying. You get in there and you want to know. He started investing in property and he said, well, before I buy this house, I've got to go under it and inspect it. So he did it not as a licensed inspector at that time. He was just buying it because he wanted to buy the home and see what it had. And so then he said, well, he was dealing with a realtor and he said, okay. He noticed that she got the commission off of the, after he had just gone under the house and said, okay, this house is viable, so I'm going to buy it. And he hired a realtor to be his person. So after that, he said, well, you know, I can be an inspector. He got licensed. And then he said, well, you know, dang, I think I can take the test, and learned all the stuff. And he became a realtor. And this worked for him while he's working at DuPont. And then, well, dang, I think I can build houses. So here's my guy. I hadn't even married him yet. So it was like, okay, he's working at DuPont, and he's an home inspector, and he's a realtor, and now a general contractor. And after 14 years, I finally got the marriage license. So it was one of those things where, you know, it's like, come on, you know. But anyway, he's really good at what he does. And we've owned a home inspection business for about 30 years, and we're just really, really proud. For about 25 of it, we had a franchise, a national franchise, and we gave that up because we said, well, you know what, we're giving a lot of money to that franchise. We think we can do this independently. So that's about the last 5 years, that's what we've done, and we call our name now the American Property. And so with that, we've got lots of guys that are trained who know what they're talking about. I'm just the marketing guru, so I turn it over to Frank to be the inspector up here to talk about the things that we do. I'm telling you, we own several investment properties, and there's nothing like getting those home inspected. You go in there because you really don't know what you're buying, especially some of these houses that have been existing for a while, or they've had renters in them, and some of them have just trashed your place. We've had that done time and time again with some of the properties that we own down at the beach. And, you know, so if you get someone in there that really knows what they're doing, get them in there. You know, it may cost a couple of $100s, but you've got someone that's experienced and, you know, has a license in that. So much like Jackie was saying, you know, if you don't know, get someone who does know. And so that's what these guys do. Several years after we got the American Property, we thought that the one component that was missing in our whole project was a pest inspection company. So Johnny came on board, and he and Arnold have a wonderful relationship. So he is our eco person that we go to, because Johnny, you talk about a guru, this guy knows everything about pests and all those little critters and stuff. So he will keep your homes like pest free. So let Frank speak, and then if Johnny would. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Frank, and I'm a home inspector in the state of North Carolina. I'm also a licensed pest control operator, as is Johnny. And all that means is I get to crawl into houses for a living. But Heather asked me to come out today and talk a little bit about what I'm looking for in a home inspection. And it's important to remember that a home inspection is a functionality inspection, not a cosmetic inspection. Something may not look good, but if it functions as intended, it wouldn't necessarily be in your report, okay? But other things that we're looking for are safety concerns, handrails, loose steps, you know, bad flooring, something like that. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy the home inspection piece. I feel like I've been in training for 26 years in the construction industry for this. Because sometimes you just see something you never saw before. So, you know, it's, I don't know, it's just, I don't know what you don't know. So, you know, questions, I don't know.
I'll segue for you, because I know you told me you were like, oh, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So the same day that Jackie asked me the question about the investment property was my home inspection for the property that I had under contract with Frank. I get there, Frank says, okay, all right. So how do you feel? You know, disclosure, the house was 91 years old. I'm an old house girl. Give me a Hayback house any day and I will be super happy. If you give me Cumberland Heights house, I'm even happier. One of the things, and so I am a firm Frank, do all my home inspections. The reason that I choose Frank is because he asked me that. He says, why me? Like, what about me is it that you would want me to even do your own home inspection? There are some home inspectors out there that are fear mongers. They will put things in there that are very frightening. And you have a lot of, there are things that they have to put in there. So I'm not going to say that they're not doing what they're supposed to. However, you know, when I sat down and Frank showed me, he says, okay, so this could be fixed and it can be done. So you can do this. Okay. All of it could have been fixed. And I talked to my contractor and I sent it to him and he was like, okay, you know, if I do it, it's probably gonna be about 12 grand. And so now, could it have been fixed for less than 12 grand? Yes, it certainly could, but he had just fixed floors in my other house and I know what he did. He took out hanger bands, he took out bling, did all that. So, I had to make that decision, but the thing is that I was able to make a very educated decision on, here's the facts, this is what it looks like, these are things that can be fixed, these are things that have happened over time, this is all of those. So when you're looking at, especially houses with crawl spaces, I think that you want to make sure that your home inspector is not one that is going to make it to where a buyer freaks out to the point where they terminate, because we don't want that for our buyers. And typically when it comes to repairs, things can be done for a lot less than that 12 grand, but there was a lot under the house. But the beauty of it is when I got there and he was showing it to me, there was never a, oh my God, you need to run away from this house now. It was very calm, cool, and collected of, hey, this is what it is. So make sure that when you are looking for home inspectors, that you have those qualities in somebody. So.
I do have a question for you. Like she said, the house that she was much older.
Mm-hmm.
So like, kind of what are your guidelines between a house that was built in 1940 versus a house built in 1990?
So the standard of an inspection is the same, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We would never, you can't inspect a house that was built in the 1920s to today's code, right? And we do not quote code. So, you know, if it's present, it should function as intended. So even if a house was built in the 50s, if there is an upgrade done to that house, whatever the upgrade is, it should be functioning as intended. A good example would be GFCI receptacles. If a GFCI is there, it should test and reset properly. If it's not, it's a discrepancy. And to Heather's point, about close to 1,000 inspections. I don't think I've quite hit that number yet. Close to 1,000 inspections. I have not found anything that can't be fixed. And it's all in how you present it, you know. I think it was another question up here.
That was actually, it's a great segue. So a big part of our job is I'm relatively new in the industry, and a big part of our job is how we interface with our clients. So my question was, when you provide me a report, I just had a house that I sold out in Kings Grant. I have this 55-page report, and I present it to my client. It's like, oh my God. Do you give like a synopsis at the end to say, hey, these are the critical items that you'll say we have, you know, these items that are deficiencies, but these are the critical items. So it allows us as an agent to have a smoother conversation with our clients.
Absolutely. So the software that we use, I love it. It's clear and concise, and there is a summary page. And then that summary page is going to give you the things that need attention. And another cool thing, I think it's cool, and I don't know if anybody has used it yet, on our report is all digital, okay? You can save a PDF file, okay, first of all, and then also in the report tools, you can build a repair request. So you don't have to type out your repair request. You can sit down with your client and click the items that they want repaired, and it will build your repair request for you.
That's what I was going to, you know, so.
Verbiage and everything?
A little over a year, This one is.
So like the verbiage and everything?
It will pull in my entire comment with photos.
Wow.
And stick it on your repair request.
And Frank, this is your card?
Yes, sir.
Thank
you. Absolutely.
I don't know your name. David, I'm Sharonda. I always tell my clients when it comes to the home inspection that they will get a full report. It's their obligation to read it, that I only look at the summary.
Right.
So that might help you like put that on the client because that is their responsibility.
Well, I would say there's two sides to that coin, and it
Okay.
depends on who I'm representing. So if I'm representing my seller, then obviously the conversation is going to go towards, hey, these are the critical items that we must replace in order to make the house, you know, livable for the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the buyer side, we're going to go ask for the world and hope for the best. So that's where there's kind of like, you got to be able to have two different conversations with two different clients, in my opinion. I don't know.
Well,
I still go by the summary.
I had a mistake with a cross-sell agent. We were doing a dual agency situation. And we read through the summary, all is well, all is good. Come out to find that the home inspector, it was not you. And I did not order the home inspection, just FYI. That on the home inspection, the home inspector made a mistake and didn't include any of the massive amounts of wood rot in the summary, only put it in the report. The co-agent only read the summary, as I always do often too, especially in a time crunch, I'm gonna read the summary. Now this poor buyer didn't have any wood rot. Now we got together, we figured it out, we paid for the wood rot, it was fine. But after that, my personal lesson was I had to read more than the summary because otherwise the client's not screwed. Because, no offense, home inspectors are human. Realtors, we're human. New construction home builders, they're human. None of these things are gonna be perfect. So it's always an extra set of eyes over and over is kind of helpful.
Absolutely.
How much are your inspection fees?
So it's based on the age of the house and the square footage of the house. And there is some limitations on distance. So if it's up in Sanford or any farther, we'll go wherever we need to. But there may be a charge for distance as well. An average for this area is about $750. I'm sorry, $350. I wish it was $750. Average is about $350.
You can see if we're paying attention.
And does that fee include the re-inspection fee? So once I get my contractors to go out and do the work, do you go back out and re-inspect to make sure
that could induce a conflict of interest if we go out and do a service at no charge.
After
the
our
fact,
client pays you to retain your services?
No, our home inspection is the inspection at that point in time.
Okay.
We do go back and offer a verification of repair. So anything that the buyer and seller agreed upon in your due diligence repair request, we can come back and verify that those things were fixed. Now, it's not to what's the word I'm looking for?
The code to standard?
Not the code.
It's to make sure it's not a Mickey Mouse job.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
functioning as intended.
Reasonable repairs completed.
And
That fee is a flat fee of $175, whether we're going to look at 1 or 2 items or everything on your repair request.
so $350 upfront, $175 for the reinspection.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And it is just with the repairs, it's not a whole.
It's not a whole inspection.
Yeah, yeah,
Only
just-
looking at the
Yeah.
items specifically listed on the repair
And make
request.
sure you're wording that appropriately, because they're stand up and they're honest, but if you call another home inspection company and say, hey, I need a re-inspect,
Right.
they're going to charge you for another, whole nother home inspection
Right.
versus verification of repairs on these items. It's a business, some people are a little more shady than others, and they're gonna get their money where they can. So let's just make sure we say we want item A, B, C, and D checked, leave out this one and check this one and move on. What are you gonna charge me? Get it in writing, have everybody sign off on it and schedule it.
If you're a listing agent in a situation like that, that you need a VOR, verification of repair, make sure that you go out and look to see if those repairs have actually been done. We have time and time again, we have gotten a call with 2 agents sitting at a closing, and they'll say, were the verification of repairs, were they done? Have you been out to see if they've been done? And Arnold has actually been called out there to see if he could go out and check it really quick while the agent's still sitting closing. So don't do that. It's an injustice to your buyer, to you. So just make sure that the job is completed.
So also, talking about costs, if you are using this as an investment property, the costs that you are spending on the home inspection, any verification of repairs, pest inspection, those are also items that can be tax deductible.
We can find out what your CPA is.
Okay, well, so she told me it was.
Okay, so, and there's the thing, make sure with your CPA, you talk to them and see, everybody's CPA is gonna say something different. The way it has been explained to me, after it's closed and turned into your investment property is traditionally when you can start writing it off on your investment property. However, there could be some changes, and I haven't purchased my last investment property was a few years ago, and just like last year, prior to COVID, your meals with your clients were not a tax deduction. After COVID, they are now a tax deduction again. So things change as time goes on. So just confirm and make sure you're hiring a CPA, for whether you're real estate investment or whether it's your real estate business, that they are CPAs that are staying up with the time as to know what is deductible when.
Because that was a recent conversation, because I went, when I did my taxes, let them know that that's my plan. So always have more than one person that you talk to when it comes to your money.
Just need to get name and contact information.
Okay, I knew that I should not bring him here because I have a hard enough time getting him on my schedule.
So I have cards up here. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was it's okay to have your clients at the inspection. We have a template that I follow. They're not gonna bother me to the point that I'm gonna miss something. It's gonna take me a little bit longer to get through the inspection, and that's okay. But sometimes we can talk about a discrepancy and they can see it, and it clears the air, and they feel better about it. But my direct cell phone number is on my card. If any of your clients ever have a question after the inspection, I want to make myself available. So, anything I can do to help. Try to make myself available for them.
He will make you look amazing to your buyer clients. I have one right now that I talked to her the other day and she's like, how's Frank doing? She had issues that were in the crawl space and she called Frank after we closed and we went into depth and he went over the issues that he had seen on the home inspection from when he did it and was able to get her to a place where she's like, okay, I understand it now and I'm good. So, he's very good at that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you so much.
Johnny, how do you plan all this?
Hey, so it's hard to come clean up this stuff.
What's your name, Jackie?
Jackie, you're amazing. You bring a lot to the table with suggestions, things that I preach every day. One thing about Frank, and he's always available. I talk to him 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes, and he's with the customer or taking a call from a customer. But beyond Frank, We have 5 young ladies in our office.
Erica is amazing.
5 bodies that
No, Kitty's my girl.
know,
Okay, good.
that know the ins and outs of our business. They're there in the office between 8 and 5 every single day. They are very knowledgeable. I hear them every morning handling complaints and talking about summaries and reading through the reports and things. It's amazing. But we have live bodies. You're not calling a call center. We have been very fortunate to have our team come to work every single day for the last 2 years. Nobody's asked to work from home. We're all on the same page. We're not sending stuff here or there. We've had a couple bumps and bruises with some people being out, but we've always been able to maintain that. So our staff is pretty, hands-on when it comes to being able to answer that phone, responding to emails. We're not perfect. Sometimes we'll miss that email, but if that email is followed up with a phone call, it'll get some attention pretty quick. I'm Johnny. I see a lot of familiar faces. I think you guys are doing business with us. I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm a licensed pest professional, a licensed general contractor. I do ornamental and turf, hold a public health license. I'm very well-rounded. Thank you for the compliment earlier. I'm an investor. I'm a buyer. I'm a builder.
Do you have a picture?
Yes! If I had candy, I would throw it at you right now.
I thought it, I just didn't say it, that's our life.
I answer questions all day long, not just pest related, things that may come off of Frankie's home inspection, just a second opinion from another home inspector. We do a number of different things. And I'm just going to take a few minutes, talk about the wood destroyed insect report and the navigation through it. Not just what's it about, but navigating it. The market's been crazy for 18 months. People would post these inspections to close to closing, and then there's problems and it delays everything. It's as important now to get this stuff done early than it is later. Be proactive. If you know the lender's going to throw a red flag on something, take care of it immediately. Don't hee-haw around. We are struggling with materials every single day. These insecticides come from overseas, and we have fought like we're in a heavyweight championship every day to get things to do business. I mean, it is a never-ending battle. It is not easy to do business anymore. If you see something down here in this bottom box, it's in conducive conditions, get it fixed. Find out what it is and what it's going to take to get it off the report. Don't let the processor or the loan officer dictate it 24 hours before closing.
Yeah.
I get 10, 15 of those calls every single day, and then somebody's upset because closing is pushed back 5 or 10 more days because single source can only do so much, So it's important. If there's something in the findings, a lot of lenders want a structural letter. We are the only pest company that can provide that structural letter. There's a lot of people out there that can provide it, but we can do both.
How much are your structural?
Good question. They're $95 locally if we're just looking at 1 or 2 items. If there's travel involved, the price is going to go up. We don't engage in the repairs because we're very neutral as, hey, there's a problem, you're good to go, or there's no problem, there's no good. You need to have something done. We're not there to sell you something. The same thing with the WDIR. This isn't an estimate. I see a lot of competition using this as a strong arm tactic to get your client or scared that Jesus said scare tactic. Is that you?
Fear mongering.
Fear mongering. This isn't that. This should be an inspection at time of service, and if there's a problem, there's a problem. It just because something looked like it had a problem in the past doesn't mean there's a current problem right now. And when you get
It's really when you get termites, not if you get termites,
That's right.
you've never had
That's
it.
right.
So don't let it freak your clients out.
Absolutely.
It's something treatable.
Absolutely, just like a crack in a foundation or a blown shingle, it can be fixed. Frankie said it best earlier when he said he hasn't seen a home that can't be fixed. 25 years, I haven't seen one either.
So our focus on this is discussing investment. So when it comes to that, if we have investment properties, What do you think what are your suggestions on protecting it from?
We work with a lot of property managers. We have personal relationships with a lot of property managers. And this is the beauty of having investment properties and having multiple eyes on your property. You should always have your property inspected after a major weather event. Hurricane, high winds, straight line winds, flooding, 6 inches of rain, you should have somebody go look at it. For 2.5 years, we still found homes that had water in their crawl space from Hurricane Matthew. For 2.5 years, we found shingles blown off roofs, chimney caps missing from Hurricane Matthew. Realistically, there's still homes out there today that are condemned from Hurricane Matthew being rehabbed and resold. It's the importance of any investment property or investment buying. The importance too is annual routine termite inspections, okay? We have a lot of property managers call our office every day and say, hey, you're going out to Cliffdale Road today, this is the address. They're not supposed to have a dog. If you will call me, if you see a dog there, I appreciate it. You know, those are little simple things you can get out of us that you may not be able to get out of someone else, you know? The routine pest control is a good thing to have. A lot of property managers want the tenant to bear that responsibility. But one thing's really important now, we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years with the explosion of bed bugs. I have been called many times by many attorneys, many magistrates, where a tenant is suing a landlord over bed bugs. They just moved in the home and they have bed bugs. And then you're sitting there wondering, did they bring the bed bugs? Did they buy the bed bugs? Or was there an existing infestation in the home that nobody was aware of? That's a real problem. I've seen people sue $10,000, $20,000 over that. You can get bed bugs by buying used furniture, a moving truck,
Or it
used
could go to
moving
the
boxes.
other parent's house and then brings them back, as it happened in my tenants went to, there was a stepdad, they went to stepdad's house had bed bugs, kid came back to their new rental house and brought them all back.
One thing we suggest to every property manager is when you have a turnover of tenants, have them have a move out and spray and a document showing that they had a bed bug inspection and there's nothing there. That protects you as a landlord, because if a new tenant moves in and then they have a problem, you can say, hey, I had it treated and I have an inspection right here saying there was no issue. $85, $100 to keep you out of court all day long. And furniture is not cheap. And with marketplace and people buying refurbished things, every day I drive through neighborhoods and I see furniture piled up at the end of the road, and I think, hell, they probably have bed bugs. But the next person probably thinking, hell, I could put that on marketplace and get $100 out of it,
Right.
or it's gonna end up at the flea market. Don't buy used furniture. That's my opinion. You couldn't give me used furniture. Don't buy used furniture. Don't recommend your clients to do it. So bed bug inspections real good with your turnover and tenant. The quarterly pest control service. We live in North Carolina. It's fact that we here in the Sandhills have the highest pest presence of anywhere in the country. With the humidity, moisture, and our seasons being very mild in the winter, we really don't have an off season. We get calls all the time, just to tell you a little bit about our business with our routine pest control, where they like, hey, we're gonna skip our winter service. But in the spring, they have the worst problems ever because they skip the service. Preach that service. Some property managers, the more the local independent guys, carry that service in part of their rent. And I always advise that, but some property managers don't, but I recommend that. If not with us, someone. This time of year is the peak of fire ant season. You know, especially with the rain, humidity, things like that. A lot of people think fire ants in summertime, but it's really fire ants in the fall. That's good to do, good to know. Any really questions for anyone?
I don't have a question, I'm just gonna toot your horn, because my personal property, I had another company, which I won't mention, but through the whole 18 years, they were always fear mongering.
Yes.
I could always call you guys, Johnny would come out and he'd be like, no, it's fine, but you know, from moisture to anything else in the crawl space. So.
Did they fix your problem there at the end?
Oh, yes, they did, at their expense.
Share that with them. Share that story.
I was getting my house ready to go on the market, and I had an indoor dog that got older, so I thought it was like urine damage, but it turned out it was extreme termites. Like they had to replace. So I had Johnny come out. He's like, "Oh no, that's termites." So they had to replace basically the whole hardwood flooring in the dining room, some subflooring, all the way up towards like the half bathroom. I know you don't know much what.
Easy $10,000 repair.
Yeah.
Easy 10,000, maybe more because of the really nice hardwood flooring she had in her home.
And they were trying to do a laminate. I'm like, no.
Now, how much was your annual inspection every year?
Annually it's like $190.
$190 a year saved per $10,000, and not even the cost of the treatment. It's important. A couple $100 a year you're spending on routine inspections, it is well worth it. Never get the opportunity for something to get out of hand. One other thing I wanted to point on, when we do these pest inspections, it's a picture in time. And with the market being that a lot of people are still in their homes, their garage is full of their items that they're moving out or staging to get on the moving truck. And we can't get in these garages. 60–70% of what we find is in a garage. We've all seen the termite inspection where it says in the garage. If you see that, it's a good idea to have us come back when that garage is empty. We've had a fluster of calls probably in the last 6 months where we indicated the garage was inaccessible, but all of a sudden they moved that file cabinet or they have a pest inspection from someone else and they find it and they want to know why. So a simple phone call, simple read of the report, inaccessible areas, conducive conditions, findings, get them resolved, don't wait till the last minute. And you won't find yourself in no delayed closings.
My investment property got termites too, so I realize I'm just on the phone to tell you everything I did wrong. You don't have to spend money. Cause I make sure my clients all know to get it, and I always tell them, hey, it's when you get it, not if you get it, and did not keep up a termite quarterly thing for my investment property, and I got it, and the termite person I used before has now retired and not doing it, but it still cost me over $3 grand just for him to square away my property, and that was a hefty discount that I got. So don't do it, Jackie. When you have your investment properties, just pay the money, write it off on your taxes, and get it squared away.
I think a great way to put that is to practice what we preach to our clients.
Absolutely.
So if we tell them to do it, then we need to do it.
I'm a consumer just like everyone else. And when I look to do business with someone, if it's a roofer, plumber, repair guy, I'd love to see how hands-on the owner or management is. And I don't like using big companies, nothing wrong with big companies, but when you're having to go through a chain of command to get results or answers, it's always tough. And of course, I don't want to beat on the little guy, but if you're waiting a long time for that service or they retire and you're left out there holding the problems and nowhere to go for help, look at the company, just look how big they are, how small they are, how hands-on they are. The live body in the office, getting the quick results. I'll leave some cards up here. My personal cell phone number is on them as well. I respond to text messages really good late at night. So anytime you have a question, we're here. Frank, answer text messages late at night as well, won't you, Frank?
He's like, yeah, I'll go along with that.
He's like, oh, okay, yeah.
And the business that we do, there's no time to drag your feet. So we're very responsive, very responsive. All right?
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
are there any questions for these guys? Because in getting into investments, you need to know what your crawl space looks like. You need to know what your roof looks like. You need to know what's going on with any pest inspections, because your intent on this investment property is to make money and not to spend money out. So
I do have a question. Since you guys have been in business so long, do you have a list of contractors that you may be able to provide to our clients to have some of these issues remedied? We just had a meeting with Tricia the other day about making sure those contractors were actually licensed in the area that they were, performing work, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical. So, it's always good to have a list of licensed contractors to be able to give our clients options.
That is a good question. And 3 years ago, I could give you a handful of referrals that would do a good job for you.
Right.
But, in the last 2 years, the good ones, they're not taking on any anymore. You gotta be real careful. And just because someone's not licensed to do a repair, doesn't mean they're not qualified to do a repair. Now, if you get into something that requires permit or maybe some updated code, you want that licensed professional. But sometimes when something just needs a little bit of caulk and paint, or a doorknob adjusted, or a light fixture tightened up, or a toilet that's loose tightened up, those things really don't require a license. It's always good to maybe have a licensed professional check behind them, or a general contractor check behind them. Those are good things to do. And probably one thing that you guys would want to resource out, and a lot of contractors don't want to put all their eggs in one basket with one firm either, from my experience, because if something happens, they don't have another stream of work coming in. I have a couple of referrals I could probably share with you, but that's a good question and a tough one to answer. Very tough.
And I will say, like, when you're doing things for your clients or for your investment properties, even though it's like the copper on the tub, the toilets, the whatever, they should still have a certificate of insurance. They should be able to provide it to you. How much insurance do they cover? Because my neighbor next door can become a handyman. There's no license for it. They can get a business name and everything, but they need to have insurance.
Insurance
Is the huge.
But a handyman covers quite a bit of things. You don't even want to wait for a license guy.
And they're gonna charge 3 times.
And you pay for that. You really do pay for that. I give quotes all the time for some things to give people general ideas what things would cost. And they're like, man, you're $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 higher. Well, you're paying for that license, you're paying for that workers' comp, you're paying for that general liability. And if something goes wrong, somebody's gonna be there to take care of it.
Yeah, I have a good general contractor, but I think it was more in regards to what Tricia was bringing up the other day about making sure that certain things are done by licensed, certified, and the other thing is that plumbing company may hold a license, but they may subcontract that work out to a general contractor or a handyman who actually ends up showing up to your property doing the job.
Like she said, receipt, copy of insurance, goes a long ways. Even with a tree guy. If somebody out there cutting a tree, or they should have that.
I'm so proud of Johnny and our team. I tell you, they've worked so hard. I was just asking Frank, I said, "Now, how many guys do we have now?" And he said, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many trucks do we have on the road? I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 trucks on the road. So, and we're growing. I mean, it's a great business because there are a lot of pests around. But we're going to be building a new building in downtown Hope Mills. We would have started this year with the price of lumber would have come down, but we're really excited about relocating and getting our buildings, combined our home inspection business and our pest company and servicing you guys. It's a pleasure. And we thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And again, guys, if there's any questions that you have that you didn't do today, you've got cards, we've got information. Feel free to reach out to these folks and ask them. Who's your person in the office? Who's your person in the office?
Oh, Kitty.
Kitty, okay. And then Erica's mine. Poor Erica. I don't think I ever call the office. I always call Erica's cell phone. And I'm like, Erica.
And that should be a testament right there for dedication to, what she does every day.
Yes.
The poor girl, she tells me all the time, she gets calls on Saturdays and Sundays, and she'll answer. I was out eating with her and her family on a Sunday, and she took a call, logged in remotely, and helped them surf through their problems. And, again, we have a live body in our office. We're breathing, and they're there to take your call every day.
So be sure that when you are looking to get that investment property, or if you already have one, that you are doing the things that you need to do for maintenance on it. the things that you're doing for maintenance are tax deductible items, and it's going to save you money in the long run, because again, like we said, the intent of an investment property is to make money, not to have to put it out. So, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you being here. All right, so now we're gonna start the panel part. And so we added one more, Karen B. Brown. She also runs a property management company as well, so you can ask some questions as far as that goes. And again, like we said in the beginning, there's no curriculum, there's no lesson plan. It is just literally throw your questions at them and have at it.
So quick synopsis, because a lot of you have no clue who we are and why we're even up here. Karen Bean Brown has been in business for
About probably 6 years now, total with property management.
and then real estate
17.
17. Yeah, I think we met right around when we started about the same time when we were both kind of with a different firm. And she has a lot of great information services. Our area and the Raleigh area does a lot of property management as well. Sierra, you've been in business how long?
I've been licensed 10 years next month, so.
And you do a good amount of flips
Yes.
and stuff too. So she is purchasing homes and does flips, does traditional real estate, and you also work with investors.
I work with investors, that's my main business, and then I just did, my first Airbnb, so I'll talk about that.
Awesome. And then we have Jody, who is stellar, has worked for title companies, and she's a licensed realtor and has worked for attorneys and is a numbers freaking amazing
Yes.
guru, extremely organized, and very knowledgeable. She's kind of like that silent punch that you don't even realize is there, and then you get her talking and she's like a huge plethora of information and she doesn't even realize how amazing she is. Is that a good enough?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have our amazing Tiffany BLE. And she does flips, she goes with investors, she does a lot of farm and horse and land property as well. So you have a panel of people who have a lot of stuff. You also run Airbnbs. Do you have Airbnb too? An Airbnb. I just I do my regular traditional real estate, and then I have, I think, 4 investment properties right now. So you have a plethora of people who run their own, how we purchase it, how we do our money, how we do our taxes. When you are looking for an investor, how are you helping them? How are you running their comps? You're gonna run the numbers different if they're gonna be a flipper, if they're gonna run an Airbnb, or if they're gonna be a long-time investor for real estate. And know what questions to ask them so you know how to run their numbers. That give everybody kind of basic idea of who does what, where you can ask the questions. Sweet.
Okay, so I'll start about my question.
Yes, I love it.
So because I've seen your work, so how do you decide what you're going to keep as an Airbnb versus flipping it?
Numbers,
Oh, that's just the bottom line.
the numbers.
So
and
what
the size.
determines so what do you feel like, what's your number in your head that says, okay, if this is gonna gross me X amount, I'm gonna keep this?
If I'm gonna
versus
profit over 30,000, then I'm gonna flip it.
Okay.
The numbers are tighter than that, and the size, I wouldn't wanna keep anything too large for an Airbnb. My goal is, 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Mhm.
Something simple, but you gotta clean it, you gotta think about any damages, things like that. I don't do long-term rentals.
Mhm.
I just don't have the patience.
So when you say you don't have the patience, what kind of patience do you need, do you feel like you need for a long-term rental?
More than I have.
And so what are you having patient, what do you have to have patience for?
Tenants, dealing with people.
I don't know, like, these are all questions. When Jackie said that to me, I was like, oh God, I don't know. Cause my current tenant in Chester is my daughter. So, that's really easy to take care of. Mom, there's big water bugs. So here's a bag of Spectracide. Go put it out.
I just like the quick turnover.
Okay.
I don't like doing things for a long period of time. I don't think that people take care
things well when they're not their own. So for me, it would be very hard for me to see something that I put a lot of energy and effort into get destroyed.
Okay.
So
I'm the opposite because running an Airbnb and having to re-get things cleaned, retouch things up, deal with scheduling, get someone out there to clean on a constant basis would give me anxiety and I would pull my hair out, and having to keep the books for everybody. I want one tenant that when something breaks, I have to go get it squared away, or I can go do my quarterly inspections, like collect their rent, contact them every once in a while, and I'm done. The books are much simpler to keep.
But aren't you more profitable as an Airbnb because you're getting like X, like hotel money, give or take, for a week versus waiting for that 1 month's rent where you can make that?
I would say so, but I don't do the long term, so I'm not entirely sure. And then really at the end of the day, my biggest thing is I really enjoy the flipping. So I do have the Airbnb, and basically without a necessity. More so with our clients needing a place to stay. It just became more and more of a necessity for people needing someplace for a little bit while they closed. They didn't have somewhere to go. I also have, a lot of people that come in to visit while they're looking. It just worked out really well. But my biggest thing is I just enjoy the flips.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, Kelly.
It's okay.
Ladies
Okay, mine's quick.
Ladies first.
So if you have an Airbnb, can you like turn that off to a property manager? Or then that's now another expense that like have them take off, here you are, I'm gonna use this as Airbnb. Will they do that, or that's Airbnbs are kind of on your own? Does anyone know?
I'm sure you can hire a property
Yeah,
manager.
it would just be an additional expense.
That's an additional.
Yeah.
There are companies that do exclusively Airbnbs instead of long-term rentals.
Oh, cool. It's all yours. Told you it was quick. Could you eat a chip?
So it kind of goes back to her original question. When you run the numbers, you said 30,000 is your magic number to determine whether I'm going to flip it or whether I'm going to keep it as a short-term rental. Do you have some type of spreadsheet or computer program that you plug in all of the costs that you're going to have to, put up front, whether it's rehab costs or whatever, marketing, everything else, to look at the total, cost invested into the property to make those decisions? And then so what program or spreadsheet do you use? Is this something that you created? Or?
Yeah, I just created it myself. And I just usually estimate high because that usually happens. There's a lot of unforeseen things that come up. So I make sure I give myself a lot of wiggle room. And I try to play it safe. But it was something I came up with myself.
My number's 25,000. And I don't know if you're the same as me. We can just walk in the properties and pretty much guesstimate what it's gonna cost us. And I'm pretty spot on now, because we've done it plenty of times that we know what paint's gonna cost, we know what floor's gonna cost, lighting and everything that we're gonna wanna do, but if you go into a flip, that I always get, if it has a crawl space, get that crawl space, get a home inspector that will do the investment inspection. Well, they'll go into the crawl space and then they'll go into the attic. Cause those are the two things that I don't know about, right? So if there's moisture, I know how to take care of the moisture, but how bad is it? So at least you have another number in your head. But like the Airbnb, I went way over budget because I focused a lot on the landscaping, because now it's not just a flip. You're going to accommodate guests and, curb appeal, even though curb appeal is huge on a flip too, but it's even bigger on an Airbnb because you're getting rated and stuff like that. So that was an extra $2,000 on it. We had to take down a bunch of shrub. It's just not maintained. So but yeah, I could walk through. I have like a little, hey, this is what flooring's gonna cost me, like this is the proposed and then the actual, and then at the end of the day, I've usually gone a little bit under budget on most of my stuff. My Airbnb was the only one that I went well over because there were some unexpected things that I would normally do on a flip that I did a little bit extra here or didn't do. So, and then I didn't know the furniture was gonna be as expensive as I thought. Yeah.
Definitely more expensive, but it's not something that.
Right, you can't cheap really, you can't really, you try to cheap out and you try to find something durable. And something that's not so cheap, you can't go to IKEA for everything. You have to buy, some stuff that's gonna last. So,
So just to let you know, that's on the screen, it's Sierra's
oh,
Airbnb.
this is, yeah.
She sent it to me, so I figured I'd put it up here. This is my contribution.
Yeah, so the floor is probably a little bit more there. We did a little bit more, a durable LVP that'll last, a lot longer with the foot traffic and everything. And then, mine's in Pinehurst, and we were lucky, we got a traveling nurse, single lady by herself, got it for 3 months, and then we just got another inquiry on a couple that's staying for 2.5 months, and they wanted some savings from Airbnb, so we gave them a $2,000 discount, for the 2.5 months that they were gonna stay. So yeah, we can just walk through and see, but you don't know what it's gonna be until you do your first one. My very
I'd
first
say your
flip.
first, you should probably put at least a 30% fudge factor in there, wouldn't you say?
I would say, well, yeah, and then I'm not going in on my first flip. My first flip I'm like, I know I'm gonna make money, but I'm going in to see if I even like what I'm doing. Do I even like this? Is this something that I can take on? And my very first flip was very cosmetic, very basic, just flooring, paint, changing the light fixtures, just updating it to see if you're really ready to handle it. And I wasn't going in for the money. I didn't make that much. I made, I think, like $8,000 my first flip, but that's when the addiction started. That's just, okay, I can do this, yeah, I can do this, and I'm ready for my next one. What's my next one? And then you start really plugging in numbers and what your magic number is and what that's gonna be. Yes. Anybody?
I was just curious, I'm just gonna speak up since everybody else is taking the time. I was just curious, how many flips do you guys personally wanna handle a year? And I know that's different for everybody.
I could go back and look at your notes, Sierra.
Huh?
I can go back and look at your goals.
Yes,
I wanna-
Personally, as in like ourselves or with investors.
yeah, like you personally, how many homes do you want to handle a year in flipping yourself, your
I
properties?
wish I could do three to four a year.
Mhm.
I wanted to do like my main source of income, but it's hard.
I'm doing 3 currently. I just finished one, but purchased 3 at the same time, and I don't recommend that to anybody. Just throwing that out there.
So how many do you want to and how many are you doing?
If I could do, I would say I would like to do 10 a year, but space them out a little bit more. But the
So
biggest
who's
thing
the
is having
contractor?
contractors.
Yeah, that's why I say 4, because I have my people. So I have a handyman, I have my flooring guy, and then I have my general contractor that comes in and does like, if there's, being done service or something.
So you're not in there breaking sweat.
My ex-husband and I did it together because he was very handy, but I don't have, I'm divorced, so. And my new boyfriend, he's not.
He's not handy at all.
He's handy, but not the way that I like it to be.
This is being recorded.
It's a big learning curve, it's a big learning curve, so I have to, because I know what I'm talking about. This is his first time, like the Airbnb that's his first time, and he has to deal with my crazy, and, because we show flips all the time, and we see the quality in there, and you're just like, this is terrible, right? So that's what I'm trying to prevent. So that's why I have my handy guy, and like, that's why we went a little bit over budget on the Pinehurst house, because my boyfriend can't do backsplashes or anything like that yet, so.
Damn him.
The way I want it.
So I appreciate you guys coming out here and teaching us about this. It is a lot to learn, and I do want to ask before you an avenue for you guys to learn about getting into rentals, getting into Airbnbs, getting into flipping. Where did you guys go to get all this information to start off?
I was really scared. I started going to, I actually went to another flipper. I saw them, I knew who they were. I've seen them on the MLS, and I saw them working on a house in Gates 4. And I don't know, I was just creeping up on them or something. And I went in there and I was like, hey, I see you guys do a bunch of stuff. How do you guys do it? And of course, no one's going to give you the information that you're looking for. I mean, you try, but you have to do it yourself. You have to just rip that Band-Aid off and know that it's a good property. The very first property that I bought, we went really over on the asking price because we knew it was an easy flip for us.
But yeah, you gotta rip that Band-Aid off and just do it yourself and guesstimate. I mean, you can only go to Lowe's so much, you can only look at houses so much. And you just have to go in and do it and just to know that this is, like I said, like my very first time, like, is this for me? I really wanna do it, but is this something that I wanna undertake? And then once you do that first one, and if you make a little bit of money, great. I mean, I don't think you can really lose money, unless you're going, you can't go above and beyond, with fixtures and stuff like that. But just make it look good, you know it looks good, you have clients, you show them houses, you know what works. And if you follow that, I think you'll be okay. I mean, I don't know how you did your first one or.
Live and
your
learn.
first one.
I bought one that was a very easy flip. I call it lipstick flips. You know, my first ones, we didn't tear down walls, we didn't rearrange where rooms were, we didn't move the kitchen, didn't do anything like that. Flooring, paint, appliances, and fixtures, and just did it that way. But yeah, live and learn. And you could mess up your numbers if you don't do your due diligence and buy at the right spot, knowing your comps and you can't overbuild. You need to stay within your budget. Sometimes that's hard for people because I do get a lot of people that ask me and they want to redo something to their liking, and that's not always the best thing to do. You have to redo it to the liking of your consumer base. If you limit it too much, you can get in trouble. So
I'm gonna pick up on that. I do long-term rentals. I would like to get into the short-term rentals just for having a different portfolio to add to it. So I've got other streams of revenue coming in. But when you're looking at having a rental, you've got to take the emotion out of it. You have to go into it that they are going to break the house. Whatever you have in the house, you're going to have to maintain. Just like when you say you're going under contract and the house is in as-is condition until you close, same thing for my rentals. If I have a refrigerator in there that's working and it dies, I have to replace it with the same type of refrigerator, same size, ice maker, so forth. I can't go in and put a cheap refrigerator in just because it's cheaper for me. They have a standard. They rented the house because it had X, Y, and Z in the house. So when you make that initial, I'm going to do this, and you want to make changes, think about the changes that you're wanting to make. You may want to make it because it looks good for you, and maybe you're living in the house that you're going to turn into a rental. That's how I got started. Our first house was the house that we lived in. Well, the house I live in now will be rental number 5 if we ever move. There's things that I want to do to it, but then I think back, if I add the hot tub, I'm going to have to maintain the hot tub. So maybe that's not a good idea at this point in time. Do I want it now for my personal pleasure? Sure. But as I think about my investment after we leave, that's not something that I want to maintain long term. So you have to factor that into your cost too, and making your changes.
And working with clients too, I had one investor, he will build, like he'll do burn down houses. He'll completely do, his rehabs are extreme. He'll replace windows, roofs, he does it. You have to know that person. You can't just send them properties that you think will make the money. It has to be, but that takes time and knowing how they work too, like what their style is. And I design his houses as well. So we work together as far as, kitchen design and paint schemes and everything like that. But working with investors, you really have to know what their scope of work is. Because if not, then, you're not gonna be held liable, but I'm very protective of my investors' money, because they give me business and, there's time to go in it. And if they're things like, I want to make 30 grand, you have to really look at, you can't just send them random houses for them to go look at. It's just a waste of both of y'all's time. So go in, if it's a new investor, if they want to start flipping, it's, the lipstick flips, paint, some paint, a little bit of whatever, appliances, flooring, carpet, send them things that will be easy for them to start out with, because then they're just going to get that experience like, all right, okay, now I did this, I can advance a little bit more. Then they start working with their vendors. But But if you have an investor that's a general contractor, you really have to know what they're gonna be doing and how they're gonna be doing it. Because my guy he'll do a tub surround, a tile tub surround. He doesn't do inserts. So I know right there, that's already an additional $1,000 on his budget. His rehab budgets are usually in the 70s to $125 range. So I have to send him stuff that's like a $10,000 burn down house. He's just buying it for rebuild and the long cost, you know, he had the land value right there. So he just doesn't want a lot, because then he'll have to connect the city sewer and everything like that. So, you know, once you start working, that's another thing, and it just comes with time and getting to know people. Because they're really gonna want your help and your input, because you're the ones that are showing and selling these houses, because you're gonna become a huge part of their design. And they're going to look to you for any advice or tips, and I'm sure it's the same with you.
But I'll play the other side of that as well. And this is not, I'm just trying to save people time a little bit, because everyone wants to be an investor. But just as much as the investor is gonna vet you to see if you work for them, you should vet the investor and see if they work for you. Because you will spend a lot of time with this person. You wanna make sure that they know what they're doing, they have the funds to do what they wanna do, and the resources. Contractors are hard to find. Getting someone to send you their contractor list is a difficult thing. Getting contractors to show up and do a good job is a really difficult thing. So when you get one, you hold on to them because they're cherished. They're gold. Yeah, because as far as doing the work, I mean, I do the demo. I like to break stuff because that's my stress relief. So I break it, and then Matt, my poor fiance, has to make it pretty again, and so do our contractors. But if you don't have the people to do it right, you go into these houses and you see grout lines that are this thick, and you see crooked tile, and you see flooring that's installed wrong, and you don't want that. You're spending someone's money. You have to do the right thing, but check your people. I've been getting calls, I don't know about you, but I get calls for investors that are from California constantly right now. Yeah, they have money, but they don't have any connections.
The resources.
Is that something you want to take on? There's a lot of responsibility with it. So just do your due diligence, learn the expectations of what they want from you as well. Because you don't
make sure they know your value.
Yeah, and you don't want to work with every investor. I'm very selective. I have I think I have 5 right now that I work with, and I get calls a lot, and I tell people, I can't.
It's a lot of work, because they'll send you properties, and then you have to work the comps and do their net sheets and everything, and that is so time consuming. And then writing up offers that they might lose out on. So dealing with investors is very, exactly, you want to make sure they're legit, and you want to make sure they're not a waste of your time, because I mean, I get it all the time. Like, you know, my boyfriend's coworkers are like, oh yeah, I want to flip houses, and they start texting you and blowing you up, and you're like, dude, you don't have any money to do this. Like whatever your ideas are, you can't waste your time on it. It is a waste of time, and time is money. So, you know, you need to get with the people that,
and if they're not willing to discount their services, don't allow them to discount yours. So make sure you know your value proposition when you're dealing with an investor. I think we had that conversation that one time, make sure you know if they're wanting you to cut your commission to 1%, think about that, think that through. Yes, they might be giving you 15 deals, but how many other deals could you be working with a lot of time that they're taking from you as well?
They take a lot of time.
So, and how to find them, I found my main investor, his name's Andre. I found him, he was doing handyman work. Well, he was a licensed contractor, but he was doing repairs on their house for one of my buyers, repair requests. And I just asked him one day, you're really good at fixing stuff. Have you ever thought about flipping houses? And he's like, I get that question every single day. And then when he was ready, he called me. He's like, hey, you're the only one that was really proactive about it. I'm ready. So yeah, if you're trying to look for investors, if this is going to be your thing, I just asked the handyman, my licensed GC, and that's how we built that relationship. And he's brought me my 3 other investors that I work with. So that relationship building and that value, that you bring to them, like, they will, just like you take care of them, they'll take care of you.
Do any of you guys arbitrage for your Airbnbs?
What is that?
I don't know what that is.
So arbitrage is where, so a lot of people are kind of, they look down upon it, but it's basically where you have somebody in the house and they may be in a financial bind, but they own the house. So you go in and you do a 2 to 3 year lease and basically lease that house out from them while they're still the owner of the house. And you lease that under the premise that I'm gonna Airbnb it while I have this lease agreement with you for, you know, a specific period of time. Usually what I do with those type of people is that after a year or so of arbitraging that property, you show them the profit margin and then offer to buy it. Because now you've already done the investment, you already got it up and running, and you're able to show them, you know, what type of profit that you can generate. And then what that usually does is there's people around the area that allow you to do the same thing with their property. Because usually, let's say you're a homeowner, right? You're renting it out to tenants, and those tenants aren't paying you fair market value, or those tenants are tearing your property up. You may prefer to have somebody like me come in and arbitrage it for the same reason why you don't want to hold it long term, because you don't want anybody tearing it up. So on Airbnb, I got a crew going in there every time somebody checks out, and they're cleaning it, they're checking it to make sure that nothing's being destroyed. So for the homeowner, it makes it more advantageous to have somebody like me come in and arbitrage it, because they know that it's only going to be short term and people aren't going to be in there tearing their stuff up long term. So it's just another way to Airbnb.
I just go and buy it.
I agree with you, right? But now sometimes they still want to get that revenue coming in. So right. So there's other reasons why they may not want to sell it up front. So that's where you may go in and say, hey, we'll have a shared cost on the rehab cost. So we'll come in, I'll agree that any of the damage that happens during the 2 to 3 years that I'm arbitraging this from you, that I'm responsible for the repairs on the property. And then, you know, after a certain amount of time, and you're able to show them a certain amount of revenue that the property generated, that's when you go in and have the conversation after the fact.
So are you sharing the revenue with them?
No.
You just have to be very careful and talk to legal representation when you're making all that, 'cause you gotta make sure it doesn't turn into like a wholesale situation,
Right.
which we do not do here.
Right, I agree. So the thing about it is, to your question is, you'd be paying them more than what the tenant that's currently in the place is paying them. So the tenant may have been in the property for a long period of time, like your long-term rentals. They may have come in and they're paying $1,000 a month, and they've been in that agreement for 10 years. But the market value now is $1,500 a month. So we have access to that data. I go in, hey, market value is $1,500. So when that tenant's lease is up, I'll agree to arbitrage it from you for 3 years. I'll pay you $1,500 a month, which is fair market value, with the understanding that you know that I'm going to use this as a short-term rental property.
Or I just raise the rent to meet the market demand.
Right.
Which I will do
Right.
between tenants.
Right.
And I put into mind that they know that every year their rent is going to increase $25 to keep up with appreciation. Because it's easier for a tenant to come up with $25 more a month than 4 years later, I'm saying, hey, your rent just went up $100. So if you have that going every year, then you're good with that. Yeah, Brenda.
So I don't really know anything about this, so like I'm starting from like zero, like knowledge. Whenever you are looking at a property for rental.
Can you be a little bit louder so they can hear?
Oh yeah, for a long-term rental, what are some things that you're looking at? Like if it's not necessarily in a high rental area, but you're thinking that maybe you would like to purchase it for a rental, like, what are you specifically
For
looking
me personally, I'm gonna look at how much do I wanna make a month. So right now, we don't want houses that we can't make $600 a month or more per mortgage. So I'm gonna look at, okay, if I wanna put this much money down, it's gonna make my monthly payment X amount. I'm gonna then look at the rental genre of the area and say, okay, if my mortgage is $600 a month, I need it to be able to rent for at least $1,200 a month. What houses are gonna fit in that criteria for me? The other thing I'm gonna look at is I need to have at least 3 months of rent in the bank for God forbid anything happens. I also will not buy a house in an area that I am not willing to live in myself. And I think the key to having good rentals, I've never had a house go a month without a tenant ever. But I think the key to that is keeping the houses in the condition that you would be willing to live in. So every time my tenant moves out, every time I think but once, I have the whole house repainted. I plan on getting carpet probably every 5 years. I suck at this, however, it's in my lease, that they will get quarterly inspections. If you are gonna hire somebody to do property management for you, which is a tax deduction, make sure they're doing their inspections, that they do them quarterly, and then they're photographed and they can send them to you. Because we have
Someone, if you don't hire someone, do you do that yourself?
Yes. Well, if you ask my husband, no, I haven't kept up on it as I should. Do I say I am going to? Yes, I've gotten better at it, but I will tell you that I failed to do that in one of my properties. I'm now putting a lot of money into because they haven't upkept it the way that I feel that it should have been upkept, and I didn't do the inspections as I should. 100% my fault, and I'm having to spend a good amount of money because I didn't do my due diligence.
So basically what I'm hearing you say is that when you are committing to have an investment property, there is an income, and anytime you have an income, it is basically, there's a job that goes behind it.
Absolutely.
So you have to ensure that you're willing to take on the job of doing that or pay out somebody to take care of that job for you.
And make sure your numbers work for you. If I have a house that's only gonna make me $300 a month, it's not gonna meet my financial need right now. So I'm not gonna put a bid in on that house.
So are you just looking at the rentals, you're just pulling up on the MLS and looking at the rentals in that area? How are you getting?
When I'm doing the comparables, yes. But when I'm doing, what I'm gonna do first is, I also don't want rentals that are gonna be under $1,000 a month. Just because of the area that traditionally is and how well people in that income, which sounds awful, how well people take care of the properties. I have one house that my mortgage payment is $371 every month, and the tenants pay $975 a month on that house.
So what if there aren't any rentals in that neighborhood? How are you pulling, how far out are you going to see?
Same way you would do a CMA.
I think it'd be really hard to not have rentals in the
Yeah, that's
Fayetteville
rare.
market.
I can tell you that from doing it all the time. It's very rare that you're going to have that. I've got one that just came to me, and it's in a subdivision that's fairly new. And so, yeah, in that situation, I'm having to go outside of that specific neighborhood to find comps. But it's gonna be very rare that you're not gonna have comps for rental.
I know, I was looking at Clinton and I could not find any comps in that freaking area.
But Clinton
Well,
has
you're
their MLSs too.
Yeah, which MLS, are you just in this MLS?
It was in our MLS, this
So,
particular property.
You're
You
not-
need to use the
Yeah,
Wilmington MLS.
Yeah, there's 3 different MLSs that could potentially help you. This would probably be the least of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Larry, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to add something, but I've been investing since 2008, flipping, house hacking, so on and so forth. And what you were asking for is the price point, to be honest with you, I know she said she doesn't want to do anything that's under $1,000, but you have to remember that target audience. Your renters are not gonna be this is a military town, your captain and above, your E7 is above, those are gonna end up being your buyers. So that renting class is going to be those houses from 100 to 150,000. Those also give you the biggest return on your investment as well, even when you still want to get over $1,000 a month. So I've done the analysis and a bunch of other worksheets, but the closer you can get to that 100,000 price point, the more money you will make. So you can go up, but a lot of times you're not going to get that lieutenant colonel that's coming here to want to rent 4,000 square foot
I
home.
would say I think the highest ranked person I've ever had in my house is probably in the 7. So, and honestly, the majority of my tenants, for whatever reason, have not been military affiliated. So I definitely understand what Blair's saying, and I think there is absolutely a market for it. It's gonna be what is gonna be your goal on it, and you can make a Google amount of money on what she's talking about. You have to see what your time is going to be able to take as well.
What is the amount of down payment that when you're purchasing a property, what are you putting down is your down payment amounts, typical?
20%.
You're doing
I
20?
think I found maybe one mortgage company that might do 15.
So I know
But
20 is what you have to do in order for it to be, if you're doing it as an investment property. I haven't found.
Union, I believe, said they could go down 15%. But their origination fees are higher.
Don't make
So I'm
don't
also
make
trying
sense.
to look for the lowest limit fees,
I
with the
will-
lowest amount of.
I will give huge props to Keller Mortgage.
My last one was bought through Keller Mortgage, which is, I didn't get the $1,000 credit though.
I'm not getting the $1,000 credit. However, the amount of closing costs that I have versus, and I spoke to 2 different people in the area that I usually work. The closing costs were significantly, I mean, probably about $3,500 less.
Wow.
So if you're doing this, I would highly recommend calling Keller Mortgage to see what you can do. Like she said, if you are going under 150, you don't get the $1,000 credit because it has to be at least over 150. However, what you're saving otherwise is phenomenal. And I talked to my typical lady that I use all the time, and I said, I just need for you to know that I'm calling them, and if they can beat you, then I'm gonna have to go with them. So
I will say a little bit on that, and like Larry, you work with a lot of military, I would assume, right? So here's the reason my husband and I even became investors in this whatsoever, is my real estate agent was Vicky Castro, who's mother of Sunny Ryder, who owns Remax Choice, right? And she came to me and she was helping us find a house, and she said, look, what you need to do is you need to buy a house within your BAH. Those who are not military, that's your basic housing allowance. Buy a house within your BAH where you can cover all your bills, your electricity, your internet, your everything within your BAH. You live there for a year, however long till you make your next rank. Then you take that property, you turn it into an investment property, let your tenants pay your mortgage, you buy another one within your BAH. You do that every few years, then when it comes time for you to retire out, you have that passive income coming in, because back when we started this, there was very few people ever got 100% VA disability or anything. You needed the extra money to help subsidize what you now don't get for your jump pays and all your other things. So we did that every year, and that's why my husband's retiring now, and we have 5 houses later. But the beautiful thing is that I've been able to help teach some of the young military people this way of life, because your houses traditionally appreciate, I know our market's going crazy like this, at approximately 3% every year on average. So if you get somebody else to pay for that investment for you, and you're accruing all these tax deductions, we're in the Fort Bragg area. You can give that much value to your clients to be able to explain to them how to do this investment. So now they are set up for success for their entire career, and they can have retirement and supplemental.
That's smart,
And to tack on to your story, that's what my husband and I do. My husband takes out the loans, I come up with the down payment. We live off of his income, so my income, if I choose to work, is all vacations, coming up with the next down payment, and planning for the next trip.
And whenever I cap that extra 36% goes towards all of our investments. So that'll help you as agents. You cap, cool, you're not used to having that 36% anyway. Put it towards an investment property, put it towards the stock market, put it towards something, so you're not used to having it. Make that money now work for you instead of you're working more for your money.
How much for your Airbnbs are you guys allocating for overhead, cleaning, repairs, things like that? Is there a certain percentage that you set aside for those fees, or are you guys handling that on your own? So somebody checks out, you go clean the property yourself?
Well, our very first tenant is a traveling nurse.
Right, you said
For
long
3
time, 3 months,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, so we're super lucky with that. But I'll be doing all the cleaning. And the only thing that we're allocating for is really the landscaping, because we took care of all the repairs and everything up front, like we had the home inspection. So we're in the clear for a while, and this tenant, it's a single nurse,
Right.
like by herself, no kids, yeah, she's working.
She throws checkers every night.
I know, she's working, well, she's working like 24-hour shifts, she's there to sleep,
Right.
honestly, so, there's nothing, I know that I'm gonna have to just clean the house.
Right.
So question,
I'm not allocating, I don't know yet, because I don't have the actual people coming in.
right,
So I can't give you an answer right now, but I just know all I'm gonna do with this lady is just having it clean. And then-
was there a fee that you had included in her setting it up and getting that done? Because, and I only know this because when we just
Yeah,
lost the house and had to get a new one for the thing,
like a cleaning fee?
the cleaning fee for one of them was $980. I was like, now this was at the beach, so this was a whole different thing. It was $980. I said, should they think we would do
Yeah.
that? I was like, good Lord.
Yeah, I know, like
We're
the,
there for 3 nights. It's
Yeah,
not that big.
the couple that inquired for the couple of months, their Airbnb was trying to charge them, like basically with all the fees, Airbnb was trying to charge them another $900 on top of it. And I'm like, no, we just gave them this huge discount because we're only gonna have to clean the house once and it'll be me. And I have cleaning supplies, but no, I don't have any allocation of what my monthly expenses are because I just don't know yet, so.
So wait just a second. So Jackie has to leave to go to a closing, and we have a wonderful person that just walked in who has got some Airbnb experience. So sorry, you put yourself in here. Trisha, come take the seat.
Come join us.
Trisha's gonna be able to give a whole different view on Airbnb because Trisha just
Not to.
sold one and was extremely happy to sell it.
But the worst tenant is a traveling nurse.
Well, I have a question for Tricia.
Okay, but Blair had her hand up first,
Okay.
so I'm gonna get her
The
over.
nastiest, dirtiest people. I'm not kidding you. I kid you not.
Okay,
My
you're freaking
sister's a
Sierra
nurse.
out now.
3 months.
All right.
Destroyed the house. For the panel, has anyone invested in Opportunity Zone?
What is that? Say it
So,
again?
Opportunity Zone.
Okay.
Tax cuts, of area that the government has deemed like downtown, it's a few properties. Usually they're kind of severe, sometimes it's just hard to rent out, sometimes it's in areas you don't necessarily want to do business in. However, you get tax cuts and you defer your taxes, so let's say your 30% commission, you can dump it all into that, roll it over, as long as you keep it for 10 years. But I'm looking for someone that's actually done
It's
it.
in the less desirable area to try to encourage growth and all of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Development.
they were doing that, I'm from Buffalo, New York originally, and I've got some friends that do that there. As far as here, in my opinion, there's just, the way I look at things is there's easier money to be made than having my money tied up for that long in an area I don't wanna be in. So I tend to. just
Well, it's
do
not
that.
about the making the money, it's taxes and depreciation. It's
After
not
10 years,
See,
right.
do you know Steve, the North Carolina Economic Development? It's it used to be the Women's Business Center for Fayetteville, and now it's more. It has a Women's Business Center and something. They do a lot. They invest a lot in seed. In those areas. So Susie Paprosky would be who you would be the one.
What was the name?
Susie, I can give you her number. Okay. Or I can find, I know they do, because we've, I'm the president of that board, and we have bought some in those areas, and it's a big push. There's a huge tax thing for it.
What were you saying? Yeah, I don't know your name. I'm sorry.
I'm Quinn.
Quinn.
So opportunity zones, for those that are not familiar, for a small example, if you can use your 401k, your stocks, your capital gains tax, whatever you have for the year, you have about 6 months to reinvest into an opportunity zone. After about 10 years, whatever you reinvested, made 50,000, that property you bought for 50,000, say in 10 years it's 500,000, that is also exempt too. Yeah.
So the whole time, so then you have to keep.
Well,
what
after
is the
5
thing?
years, the first 5 years, I believe it drops 10%. And then after that, it goes up a percentage more. And then at 10 years, it's completely.
You need to know what she does on her side.
She's new.
So do you need to
She needs to
panel?
stand up here. We'll throw a chair up there for you, Quinn. Trisha would love to. Trisha would love to advocate that crowd.
Nah, she has a nonprofit and she does amazing things with flipping. She just has a different experience with it, and she came into the squirt class, and by the time she was kind of nervous about speaking, but then when they were saying, well, tell us about what you do, and then the love just came out with the flipping and everything, and we're like, everybody in the class, we're just looking at her like, oh my gosh, you have all this experience.
It's
So,
just
and
another
she's
avenue
amazing.
to go towards, passive income on rental properties, but say, for example, you don't have a property in your scope right now, you have extra money, taxes really eat you up, especially if you don't have children. So opportunity zones, even if you anticipate something coming to that area in 5-10 years, anywhere off the 295, 95 area, you're anticipating some big growth like Raleigh, getting Apple, stuff like that. There are about 100 opportunity zones in the area, all the way up to Asheville, different. So if you want to do short-term rentals in Asheville, in a spot that's not had that development yet, it's a really good option to avoid, your money growing, keeping more of it up front.
And you said it's a lot, so it's a 10-year.
So
Your loan.
for 100%, it's 10 years, that's a minimum 10 years.
Okay.
But the great part of it is not just the initial of what you put in, whatever you bought with that too is exempt as well.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah,
It helps you and it helps
definitely,
your
yeah.
community.
It definitely helps the community. Also investing in opportunity zones, you can get grants because you have site control. There's a lot of options there, and the anticipation thing is a really good way to think of your money that you have right now, what it could be in 10 years for a property. You might hold it, buy and hold it, small burnt down house, that land might grow in value, but you have to reinvest that money within 6 months of that capital gains time.
So Quinn, when can we get you on the calendar for you to present for us a little bit more information about said opportunities and information? We'll get together before we leave. Yes, be careful. Ask the three ladies at the end, because I'll put you in something and get you and hold you accountable.
But as far as the Airbnb, I would say, you, whatever you charge them for because you can determine the cleaning fee yourself.
Right.
And like Sierra, I started out cleaning them and quickly changed. Yes, and you can, it's like anything else, just make sure you buy well. We anticipated a much higher rental rate than we actually received. So we didn't make as much as we thought we were going to, because when we first did it, there were only 3 Airbnbs in, this was in Haymount, Rhonda and I owned them. And then we're like, oh, we can get $80, $90 a night. No, not anymore.
So my question was, is there a percentage though? So we
I
got
would
cleaning
say-
fees, we got linen fees, so is it 30%?
Sierra's exactly correct. It depends on how long they're in, right? Because you don't need, your cleaning fee was about $85 would cost us, we charge $125, so you would make it back, and you actually make more money on multiple because you get all those cleaning fees. If you have 4 or 5 people coming in and out, you have a whole extra revenue stream you don't get it. Now, it's easier if they just stay there, but I would suggest to you to offer a cleaning at least once a month, because it's shocking how dirty they can be in 3 months.
And do you guys automate that? So like, for instance, someone books on Airbnb.com or VRBObooking.com or whatever, 2 or 3 days before they come in, my system sends them a text message and said, here's the code to the door. The code is the last 4 digits of your cell phone number. The night before they check out, sends them another text message and say, hey, look, I'll be sure to give you a 5-star rating if you take out the trash and clean the refrigerator out. Then when they check out, does my cleaning person get a text message that says, hey, 123 Main Street just had a checkout, you need to go over there and clean that? Or are you guys handling all that, or are you automating it through automated systems?
you have house rules, create house rules, and that's just staying at other Airbnbs, like you're like, that's cool, I like this, what their system is, and you kind of adapt based on what's convenient, or you're like, I don't really like this house rule, why would they have that here? So yeah, there's house rules, and as far as the cleaning person, I'm the cleaning person right now, like it will change, I'm sure, because I get grossed out with toilets, but that's the only thing. If I could just have somebody just clean the toilet, I'll be fine. Everything else I can handle.
Just plug your nose.
But yeah, it's all me now because I just have the one. So if I have 3, 4, 5 and I'm constantly booking, of course I'm gonna automate that, but I don't. That's when I would go to her for a spreadsheet. And
Spreadsheet. Oh, hold on. And that would be there.
You can also,
Can you share that?
There's,
I don't know.
company that do that for you.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
And that's why I'm
because-
asking, are they using?
Because, and then you gotta take, that's 25% more or less right off the top of yours, so it depends on how much you're getting, what you want to make. And because what you're saying sounds great, but that's very time consuming.
And
Like,
listen, when
very
people are trying to
time-consuming.
find an Airbnb,
You don't know when they.
it's, listen, I now know what buyers do when they're looking on the MLS at photos. Cause your buyer will say, oh, did you see this over there in the corner of the room that is above the blah? And I'm like, did you really look at the pictures like that? That was me and Ashling Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, because we had an Airbnb at the beach that canceled on us, so we had to find another one. And, I'm looking through it and I'm counting and I'm doing, and I said, oh my God, this is insane. So, you have to be competitive, I would think, with those fees, because people are, we booked through Airbnb, B&B versus VRBO because it was $120 less. So you have people who are doing that, and being very.
Well, in Airbnb, you can tell them that you can give them a range and they'll say what the rate is going to be based on, but you as the owner just have to be okay with that range. And you can get it for very little. So it's like anything else, what's the minimum you're gonna expect? Because we owned ours for, I don't know, it seemed like an eternity, but 8-10 years maybe, and then sold them for probably, I think about $20,000 more than we paid for them, but we didn't pay, like very little of those 10 years did we actually have to make that mortgage payment. And we bought them from an owner, so we did it was a owner finance.
Good question for my Vic.
Do not do it through Keller Williams at all.
Right. So
Absolutely not.
Jackie said something, and I just want to make sure that we're not blurring the lines.
You can't deliver any money here,
No,
even if.
not that. Is arbitrage considered wholesale?
I don't even know what arbitrage is.
Never mind.
We do not stay away from wholesaling them.
Right. Well, see, so and that's why Jackie said, hey, that's kind of blurring lines, but I don't think it is, because basically I just have a lease agreement with those homeowners. So it's not wholesaling because I'm right. I have.
But your lease agreement has to be completely outside of Keller Williams as well. Like we don't do any rental. Like I'm not your bid for your rentals.
Right.
Right, but if you said it's Keller Williams, then I would be. No, we don't, we're not okay with that.
All right, guys, we have hit the 2 o'clock mark, so we are 30 minutes past what we expected to do. Are there any questions from those of you here in the room or on Zoom before we wrap up? And if you guys also feel we need to do another class for more information, we're more than happy to do it. And remember, you all that were in here said you would speak up. So if you have not spoke up, now is your time, because you promised me you would.
Thank you.
That does not count.
I have one question. The property, how are you finding the properties? Because you can't find a whole lot on MLS.
Can I answer that one really quick?
I mean,
Just
what
a quick
avenues?
answer. Okay. Gary Keller says that every listing that you go on, you need to evaluate it as to if this is a property you want to purchase.
Okay.
And that's what's happening for me right now. I am buying a house on Magoogan, which was going to be a listing.
And if you do that, you make it very clear.
Yes.
That you are getting them market value or less because you're taking away the, you have them sign something that says, I'm selling this to a broker, I know, blah, 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 and you have them sign it.
Most definitely.
That's how I got my last one. My last one was supposed to be a listing. As a realtor, I wanted my seller to have the best opportunity to make the most in the market, but he turned around and asked me, don't you want to buy it? And I said, hold that thought, I will get back to you.
Yeah, it should be your first question on every listing you go on.
At that point though, have you had already talked to them about like what they could do, like an estimated seller net sheet and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So they already knew their numbers from your end.
I told him I could not give a market value for it, but I could buy it from them and at a negotiated price.
I find that with expired sometimes. The last one I got was an expired listing, but I went back about 4 years.
Yeah, I've driven by vacant houses that look like they're just vacant or run down.
Yeah.
And you go on truepeoplesearch.com and see if there are informations up there, and you sometimes add emails, phone numbers, and I mean, I've gotten some, how did you get my information? Like, it's public,
Door knocking.
Be
Be safe, be careful, but.
Yeah.
The courthouse steps,
Yeah.
that's the foreclosure process. That's a good one to look up to.
But if you're gonna look for flipping properties, just on
More food
MLS,
over here, you guys can grab some.
It's not gonna happen right now, but just know if it is on the MLS, you're competing with about 20 other people that want that
Yes.
house.
and all cash.
Yes.
All cash.
So make it a really good option.
Yep.
Ladies, thank you for being on the panel. Y'all, thank you for sticking with us for an extra 30 minutes. And Quinn ran out, but I will find her.
Nice to meet you.